That idea of abundancy must go into also being really selective with your clients, because the idea, especially in B2B, is like we just want more. We just need
Yeah.
more volume. And I know I've been reading a lot about agencies and companies that have built on their book of business and built their brand by being very, very exclusive. Regis McKenna, who
Yeah.
is behind Intel and Apple, all of those campaigns, they require people to basically audition
Yep.
for an opportunity to be a client.
Yep.
So let's unpack that a little bit more. This idea of being super exclusive.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, that idea of it being exclusive. It's funny because in our world and with respect, there's the two sort of consumers. There's either the consumer that is looking for a partnership and it's obvious they want a partnership, and they do what's necessary in a partnership to build upon that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a consumer that is just looking for um, instant needs to be met. And that's not who we really do business with, because again, I think that goes back to the retention, is that we're not going to get involved with anybody that we can't honestly and truthfully make a change in what they're doing or give them a return on their investment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have never made any apologies. We'll get a lot of people like, well, you guys don't do small events. That's not true. We do small events. We just have to be very selective in the companies and what we think their likelihood is to not only need us now, but need us in 10 years. And also be willing and have the mindset that we truly can help them. Meaning that the return on the investment challenges, most of these big tech event-based meetings are always a zero-sum sort of business, meaning that whatever they're intaking and their sponsorships and their registration is what they're spending on their show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love stuff like that. I truly do, because that's investing me in as a partner. Like, every decision I make is one that's budgetarily driven, but objectively driven. And those are the ones I like. And that's what we search out. But we make no apologies. We can't help everybody. If we said we could, it's not about a volume game with us, because it's about filling our calendar. And once our calendar is full, we can't help you anymore. And I had this was interesting. I'll try to leave this as nondescript as I can, but I had one of the biggest, my biggest clients. It was an ongoing client that I'd been with for a couple of years, and it went through a kind of a transition where I wasn't quite sure if it was a partnership anymore, and I don't think that they did either, and they had placed it out to bid, and I remember this very distinctly because I was in Mexico on vacation, and they had called me and they had said, well, we're going to go with you, but we're only going to give you about half of what you've normally been doing in the past. And I was like, okay. It didn't really change, what my feeling was about the project. So I came back home, and over the course of about a week or 2 weeks, I tried to schedule meeting after meeting after meeting. And every time I would get ready to go to the meeting, it would change, or it would cancel, or it would evolve. So it got to a point where I ran out of time. I couldn't do what I was being asked to do. We were almost a month out from a 30,000 plus person event, and I really couldn't do it. And I had to decline the work. And I think everybody thought I was crazy. This was an account which, was $1 million worth of revenue, but it didn't make sense. It wasn't signature worthy. At that point, it wasn't Chad Fraughton signature worthy. It wouldn't have been a good event. It was a poorly planned event. I assumed on the back end it probably became a very poorly executed event, because those things normally go hand in hand. But I walked away from it. And at the time, my partner, I think, questioned my sanity. I think some of the people within Cornerstone questioned my sanity. And I fell back on that principle, and I said, you know what? We need to find somebody that values the relationship. And we did. And that, 3 months later, a gentleman that I'd done a lot of work with, you would know him, but I'll leave him nameless. He called me up, and it replaced that void that we had in our calendar, and it was the best decision I've ever made in my whole life. Um, but that's having faith and belief in yourself, and having vision enough to not make it a volume game, but make it a quality game, and making no apologies for that. And I think that's where you see that in agencies where people, now it has turned that dynamic within the relationship to be where, man, will you take my work? Can I be your partner? It makes you desirable, and that's what we try to do. And we do that purely, pure of heart, and I don't think you can ever go wrong with that sort of position.
Absolutely.